First off, I would just like to say thank you for each and every one of you all coming. I appreciate you in the approach that you have taken in covering the stories about Sean. Initially, I was hoping, I had expected to get more of a response of, it's gossip, what kind of bad things can we bring out, and focusing on the issues itself. But I really appreciate you all taking the approach of caring about Sean, lifting Sean up, and trying to display exactly the person that he was. And that's why I'm here today. I want to help try to bring back Sean to life as much as I possibly can. And I know many of you have asked, I guess, to start off with how we met. And this is just one of those cases where it was, in my opinion, absolutely had to be fate and was meant to be. My friend Meredith, she was my roommate in college. She and I sat down to have dinner one night, and Sean and another one of his friends were there to eat as well. And they just happened to end up sitting down having dinner with us, and I completely ignored him. I thought he was very good looking, but I did not speak to him very much at all. I initially just said, "Hey, how are you?" And he said, "You got to be from Bethel." Just being able to catch my country accent. So that was about all that we had really spoken, and didn't speak much more after that. Well, I ran into him the next night at a Mexican restaurant while he was on a date with a girl, and I was with my family. And I was hoping, gosh, I was like, he's not going to remember me. I'm just going to go out and pretend like I don't remember him. Pulls me down into the booth and says, "Hey, Michaela, how are you?" Giving me a big hug with the big grin that we've all heard he was notorious for having. And it just went to show you that if he met you once, he would always remember you. And it seemed as the days went forward, I kept running into him every day. Ran into him at the gas station, out of town, in Asheville. Of course, he's from Cherokee, and I'm from Haywood County, and ran into him in Asheville at a Japanese restaurant, and he even tried to help me get out of a ticket so that I had gotten in Winston-Salem. And that was kind of how he had gotten my phone number. We started talking more and more. Kept running into him at the tanning bed, at other restaurants. We finally just gave up and said, okay, obviously this is meant to be, because we can't seem to get away from each other. Any other questions that you all would like to start initiating? I know I've got many that you all have written down, and I'll be more than happy to answer most of these for you.
Well, how are you? How is life now then?
Life now is extremely difficult. I had always imagined growing old with Sean, of course. Things happened very quickly for us. We just knew it was meant to be. We were engaged after 3 months and married 6 months later. And unfortunately, we were not even married a year. And we, of course, imagined being, growing old together and having kids. Sean wanted to be a dad so much he couldn't stand it. He almost started to wonder if he just was marrying me so I could have his children, or if he was actually marrying me to marry me. And because he immediately wanted to have kids, and that was exactly what had happened. I'd actually gotten word that it would be difficult for me to have children. And so he was very upset about that I would need some help getting pregnant and fertility help. And lo and behold, the doctors were wrong, and Sean made sure that he was right in saying that they were wrong. And I was pregnant just a few months after we got married, and along came Ty. We'd always hoped to have at least 2 to 3 children, but we were very excited to have Ty. And it's very difficult now for me to understand that I'm having to go through life without Sean. And you always imagine having a child that does not have special needs, and that you can just have at the hospital, full term, be able to get up and take them with you to the ball games and to church and out to eat, And that's one of the most difficult things I think that Sean and I both were experiencing. Of course, he wasn't with us long enough to understand the extent of Ty's medical conditions. However, he was aware of his heart condition. So I know Sean and I had some pretty detailed talks about what routes we wanted to take in his medical care. And I'm so thankful to have had that conversation with Sean, and that is a lot of what I'm taking into consideration now as we are trying to take the best approach for Ty and in keeping Sean's wishes.
How much time does Sean get spend with you?
He did spend quite a bit of time, and of course it was difficult on the both of us learning that our child was going to have a lot of problems medically. And his approach was, he liked to, of course, he loved to work. He loved what he did, and that kind of gave him a time to clear his head and to focus on what he loved doing while he was still trying to be there to make the money for our family. I was not working at the time, and we had agreed that he would take time off when Ty got to come home. We were expecting that Ty would come home about the time of his due date, which is right around now. And so at this time we would have expected Ty to be home and in his nursery and getting to do all of the fun things, you know, we were talking about, showing him off to everybody, like the proud parents, of course we were. And he did take a couple of extra days off just so that he could be with myself and with Ty. And then he immediately went back to work. Somebody has to be there to make the money for the family. Unfortunately, even in the worst circumstances, including now, real life doesn't stop. Your bills don't stop, and the upkeep of your home does not stop. And Sean was willing to make that sacrifice for our family, but yet at the same time doing what he loved.